Welcome to Face Forward, the podcast, the series that takes you behind the scenes of the riveting world of clinical trial management. I am your host, Valerie Coveney, and I am thrilled to be your guide on this journey through the nuances of planning, executing, and navigating the clinical research landscape. Today's guest brings 25 years of healthcare and life science expertise to our discussion. His journey spans senior leadership roles in niche-focused CROs. He is a perfect blend of business acumen and industry knowledge. Join us as we explore the importance of choosing a niche CRO. We will be exploring three crucial points in our discussion: scientific and therapeutic area knowledge that generalist CROs cannot match, strategic trial expertise in niche areas, and finally, expertise in disease-related endpoints. Let's extend our warmest welcome to Innovaderm's Chief Business Officer, Jason Shuris.
Thanks so much, Valerie. Thanks for having me. I'm very excited to be here. Admittedly, it is my first podcast ever, so be kind and don't be too harsh on me, okay?
I will. Thank you for being here. So let's dive right in, shall we? What are some unique opportunities and advantages niche CROs have over generalist CROs?
Well, I think, not just CROs, I think in life in general. If you focus on one or two things, perhaps you can get really, really good at doing that thing, whether it be a hobby or whether it's professional or even personal. For instance, do you know of any musicians that play a mean guitar, can really rip on the drums, fantastic singers? Like not usually. There are some unique talents out there, but I think it's an analogy that also applies to clinical research, in that there is a very crowded market of CROs, both here in North America and throughout the world, quite frankly. And there's a group of niche CROs across different therapeutic areas, but then there's also more generalist CROs that don't necessarily focus in one or two, maybe three therapeutic areas. They kind of go after everything and try to be everything to everyone. And as human beings, that's an impossible goal. So I think one of the huge advantages that niche CROs have is that they can get really, really, really good at what they do. Because they're not distracted by outside forces. They're not trying to learn on the fly like many CROs do if they're, say, bidding on something in women's health and they don't have a lot of experience there. They're doing some basic research. They're doing the best they can, but when the rubber hits the road, they really don't know how to execute those trials properly, efficiently, professionally. And I think niche CROs can add a lot of value.
Definitely. So shifting the focus here, can we go into some specific examples of what you mentioned about niche CROs?
Yeah, as far as, say, value add is concerned, I think that's the biggest benefit to working with a niche CRO. Adding value in a lot of different ways. Adding value from a scientific perspective, really feeding into the study design, understanding the patient population, how to recruit that patient population, understanding what it's like to be a physician participating in a clinical trial and seeing the trial through their eyes is very, very important. Generalist CROs cannot really do that. They're really relying on the investigators that participate, and I think niche CROs have a much better insight as to what goes on at each research site according to which protocol, the disease area, what's the patient journey, what's their life like, what are benefits to them. So there's a lot of value that can be added up front. On the execution side of things, having operations teams that, all they do is work in one therapeutic area, they're going to learn that really, really well. Whereas in the case of generalist CROs, say if you're a project manager at more of a generalist, you're going to get a protocol and you could be conducting an ophthalmology study one year, and then the next year you've got a cardiology study, and the year after that you have an oncology study. How can that person really get good at what they do and really add value to the program that they're supporting? It's very, very difficult. That also extends to clinical monitors who are going to the sites, right? So if you're a clinical monitor and you're jumping from an oncology study to a dermatology study, it's very difficult to not only make sure that you're monitoring the study appropriately to protocol, But it's also really important to develop relationships with the doctors and the staff at the sites. In my experience, niche CROs and many of the CRAs that work for them, they develop lasting relationships with the PIs, with the sub-Is, with the site staff. That's only going to be accretive and beneficial to the program. Data management's another example. Understanding edit checks, understanding what to look for, inconsistencies in the data. This variable should move with this variable, or at least one would expect it to. And when it doesn't, there's a problem, or there could be a problem. So there's just a wealth of benefit, I think, that a niche CRO can bring to a program, where I think generalist CROs have a more difficult time adding those benefits and adding that value. So
I see. So we're now at the final point of our discussion today. What would be some strategies to ensure your team remains knowledgeable in this context?
I think there's a variety of things that companies can do that are focused in, like I said, one or two therapeutic areas to make sure that the entire roster is really up to date with, the latest advancements in the field, endpoint development, new drugs that are being approved and how that impacts the landscape. So certainly one of those areas is, large conferences, continuing education. I know that there are many niche CROs that put a lot of time and effort into very therapeutic, specific, and aligned conferences, not just for sales and BD purposes, but oftentimes they'll bring clinical scientists, operations folks as well, and they're really there to attend the sessions and learn more about what's going on in the field, talk to doctors, meet with doctors, clinicians, peers as well. That's certainly one way to do it. I'm also aware of some niche CROs that put a lot of time and effort into their own internal training platforms. So it's part of, say, your SOP matrix. As a new employee and as an employee that continues to be employed and has to make sure you're up to date with all your SOPs. So there could be trainings on certain types of diseases, the endpoints, the approved drug classes that are involved in treating those diseases, up and coming mechanisms of action that have possible utility to treat those diseases. So when you make that type of training mandatory for all of your staff, whether it be clinical scientists right down to, the person working the front desk, if everyone needs to be trained, everyone's going to retain some knowledge and learn something. And if it's something that you have to do periodically to kind of brush up on, what's going on in the field, you're all the better for it, and the company's all the better for it as well. So having really knowledgeable staff, those are just two ways to do it. People that usually work for niche CROs, they also have a personal passion for the therapeutic area that they're in. And so they'll, on their own time, read articles, newsletters. Today in this day and age, it's information overload. You can find whatever you want. So it's very, very easy for folks to, say, on their own time, read an article, get a better understanding of what's happening in the space, and just being better for it.
Definitely. So this brings an end to our episode today. Thank you so much for being here, Jason.
Thank you, Valerie. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I hope you'll invite me back. This is great. Thank you.
As we conclude another illuminating episode of Face Forward, we find ourselves at the crossroads of science and progress. Remember that behind the jargon and statistics lie stories of unwavering commitment, meticulous observation, and the pursuit of evidence that shapes our understanding of health and disease. Stay at the forefront of knowledge and innovation and follow Face Forward on your preferred platform. My name is Valerie Kovney. Thank you for joining us. Until next time.